Welcome to The Problem, a Lockwood & Co. podcast. I'm Caitlin.
I'm Alan.
And today we're talking about the first part of Part 4, The Siege of Portland Row. As Lockwood almost literally says in these chapters, we are in the end game now.
The roller coaster has gone over the hill. It's all downhill.
I mean, roller coasters aren't like that, though. They're not all downhill.
100%. They just keep going down, down, down. That's what happens.
I mean, that would be a special kind of terrifying. Like, when does it end?
No, this does have, even in these two chapters, I think there's lots of ups and downs, actually. Yeah. And there's twists and turns throughout this whole part. My memory of this is like, from the jump, they have a certain plan, and that's not true.
I was going to say I have a memory of something happening in the book that has not happened, and I'm very confused about it, but I'm afraid that maybe it was in a fan fiction I read, and I just don't want... I don't want to say anything, you know? People don't need to know what I do in my weird spare time.
No one who listens to this podcast would read fan fiction about Lockwood and Co.
It's not over-the-top fans listening, definitely. Yeah. Also, fun side note, in our notes for this episode, Alan has written the word bolt hole, and when I pulled them up, I definitely read butthole. And I was like...
When I wrote it, I was like, am I going to be able to say this later?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
And I just sort of glanced at it and glanced away to open up my recording program, and I was like, wait, butthole in Jessica's room? What?
Yeah, stay tuned to see how that goes. I'm only more nervous about it now, so that's good. That will go really well.
I can do the second chapter if you want. But also, I saved a donut to eat this morning from yesterday, and I just pulled it out, and I guess overnight the icing has coated the whole thing, so I can't eat it.
Oh, you can't pick it up without...
Well, my hands are already sticky, and that's why just before we hit record, I was like, oh God, I've ruined everything. And I'm just kind of like, so now I'm just going to sit here with this donut beside me.
Good. Yeah. Are you watching it or is it watching it?
Definitely both. Definitely both.
The philosophical question of donuts.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not even going to be that good of a donut, but I want it. Anyways, chapter 17, George recovers, Lockwood gives him occult theories, and the team prepares for home invasion, Macaulay Culkin style.
Yeah, for real.
I guess I should say Kevin McAllister.
Directed by John Hughes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I always forget that Home Alone is John Hughes.
Yeah. It's probably his most popular movie ever.
Well, it was written by John Hughes. He didn't direct.
Oh, that's true. I think that's true.
It's Christopher Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
The director, not the evil...
It's the same guy. He's
just reincarnated.
He's a vampire. The picture here is of a moment late in the chapter where there's will the hammer be used to free Skull?
No, there's a boarded up window.
Yeah, and the boarded up window. I know that's why it gets mentioned. I'll point it out.
I know what you mean. I guess I didn't. Yeah. I don't think that's what it's about though. I think it's about that they're boarding up Portland Row.
100%. Yeah. And it's the tea and biscuits. Yeah. So it's the weird incongruity of it's home, but now it's like a fortress. So it's a really good picture, but it's also a moment lifted right out of the chapter, which she always tries to do that, I think.
Yeah. This one I really like. Chapter 18, I think was bad, but we'll get there.
It's so tough. Yeah.
Well, she could have chosen a different moment, but whatever. Or done it differently. I don't know. Whatever. Whenever we do this, I would never put any artistic thing that I ever did out there to be judged. So I know we're just a little nothing podcast, but I still have fear that our criticisms will get back to this artist.
Oh, yeah. Please don't take anything that we say. It's way too late for that because it's the end of the last book.
I don't know why I'm bringing this up now, but I think ever since you told me how she does the art, I think about it differently Because it's
Yeah.
not just a drawing. It's right. Like, anyways.
Oh yeah, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
I have no idea how she, like, there's steam coming off the tea and stuff, and it's like amazing.
So like all of our criticisms also, I have no idea how she does these things, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we start off with just like a paragraph about how George is looking better, how he can sit up in bed. Like he's still looking sort of beat up, but definitely rounded a bend and gonna live.
Conscious. It's somehow taken it all out of Flo Bones, and she has like collapsed in exhaustion in the bedroom.
In like a nest made of Lockwood's clothes instead of getting some blankets from, or like from the linen closet, or George's room, which is also not occupied at the moment. She could have just stolen all of his
she could have
pillows,
crashed in
and or like if she didn't want to leave him, she could have just taken his like bedding basically. It's
so much better that it's like Lockwood's good clothes. Like she's just curled up like a cat on the floor.
I don't know. I understand that this is a book for kids and he's making a joke that kids will enjoy here. But as a person, like I guess as an adult is what I'm saying, which upsets me. I'm just like, that's so rude. Why would you do that? Why would you make that choice? I can't enjoy it the way it's intended. And also, it doesn't matter. The house is about to be destroyed, so who cares? Right. But I'm still like, that is your friend who's let you stay at his house so you could be close to this person you care about while he suffers. You know, like, what are you doing? What are these choices? Anyways, I'm sorry about being an adult. It sucks.
It sucks. That's one of the things I think is really good about this book, though. It doesn't, like, romanticize childhood.
Yeah. Yeah, like Peter Pan did bad things for people, I think. Because all I remember about being a kid is having zero choices.
Yeah.
Anyways, since everybody's come back from the Society of Greek name.
Oh, the Orpheus Society.
Orpheus Society, thank you. All kind of beat up. George looks at them and is like, what, are you trying to steal my thunder? And that's exactly what I would have said in that situation. Like, how dare you get beat up? What are you talking about?
Don't subtract from my sympathy.
Yeah.
Like when am I going to have this moment again?
Exactly. So that, I just really appreciated that. That was great. And then they give him the book that they stole for him and he is excited about it, I believe.
Yeah.
I do enjoy that he has such faith in them that he asks, was it Fitz or Orpheus? As though they could break into the Fitz house.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think he gets a chance to really respond. We like get a paragraph break and we kind of hop through time. I do like that George tells them like, hey, don't wake up Flo. It's cute the way that they are taking care of each other.
Yeah. Yeah, how last chapter she was all, don't wake him up. And now he's like, oh, leave Flo. They are cute, if rude.
It's good, though. Like, they are both the same way.
Yeah.
So they would be the worst people to invite to the party, but probably the best people to hang out with at the party.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Lucy goes on here we kind of get like an introverted bit of her perspective and her worries about the reprisals that are going to come from Fitz or Deepak maybe. She's just anxious about like what's going to happen because of what we did.
Which is why they shouldn't have left anyone alive.
He should have burned it down.
Burned it down.
With the people in it.
Yeah. But eventually Lockwood starts giving everybody tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And he sends Flo out to listen to rumors about what's going on. He sends Kips out for supplies and Holly, and then I believe he himself absconds.
Yeah. We find out he goes to Deepak to try and talk Barnes into helping.
I had completely forgotten. I was like, Lockwood definitely does not come back with supplies, so I do not know where he goes.
Yeah.
But we find out about it later. That's actually really great that he tries adults one last time.
Useless, though. I like this line. It says, he was everywhere, his eyes bright, his voice calm and measured, issuing orders and making plans. Lockwood is like really in his element. It's kind of that energy of like, here's a assignment for a paper in 3 months, and then you do it the night before, kind of a thing. Like Lockwood really thrives in that, like, we're about to die in 2 days.
It's the only way to do work.
Energy. Right. Yeah.
You know, all throughout these books, and so for most of his career, just kind of accidentally, or I feel like he probably thinks it's fate, he's been fighting this fight, the one that his parents started.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more that's galvanized him than the immediacy. Although, obviously, they do need to get this all done right away.
He even talks about that later. It's really all culminating for him, and he sees all the pieces falling into place. In a lot of ways, Lockwood has been building up as a leader. He was a good leader to begin with, but I think this really showcases everything about like what he's learned as a leader and his abilities.
He was an okay leader to begin with.
Yeah.
He had his moments of, letting Lucy pay and not... And I don't mean that as a man-girl thing. I mean that as a boss and employee thing. Like, right. What the fuck?
The expenses of the actual business. Like, why don't you handle it, employee? Yeah, that's insane.
And the professional secretiveness. Like his personal secrets, that's fine. But like the not telling that he had a plan for
Coombe Carey and all that stuff.
That's the one.
Yeah. He keeps that one under his hat. It's disastrous in some ways.
Yeah. So
to be fair, Lucy does too when she smuggles in the source. But like it turns out to be clutch. But yeah, they're not doing that stuff here.
Yeah,
like it's all very out in the open and coordinated.
And everyone is working together to have a one-up on the adults.
Yeah, it just works really well. It shows how much all of them have grown, and they've grown into a group, a unit. They get a couple of deliveries. Quill comes in with one truck and Holly comes in with the other, and there's like a kind of traffic jam out in the street. So, I love that you can just get bombs delivered to your house in this version of London.
I find that the traffic jam thing is like the most English thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because those streets were designed for one carriage, and they were never updated. And now sometimes you have a public bus and cars going in opposite directions of each other.
I feel like everybody parks on the street, too.
Yep.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I have seen some things while I was there.
The quips. I've done that so many times. Quill Kipps comes in with it's like a Home Depot delivery. It feels like like plywood and hammers and nails and all this stuff to fortify.
Lucy got left at home, and we don't really find out if she was okay with that. I guess she was okay with that because we didn't hear her complain. But I guess that's just because we needed the narrator to say what was going on. Yeah,
she says like she's a little bit anxious about like, well, I guess I got to watch George all on my own. I hope he's okay because there's nothing I could do to help him if he's not.
But yeah, everybody reconvenes, and they kind of say out loud what I'm sure they were all thinking, that Marissa, not herself, but somebody from her is going to come kill them.
Yeah.
Because they know too much and they've done too much, and I assume if they can feel the end game approaching, so can Marissa.
Yeah, they have to be careful, like Marissa does, about how it's done. Like, it's not quite beating up George. Like, you could just, chalk that up to, well, London's a dangerous place.
Yeah.
Someone going into their home and killing all of them has got to, like, you've got to do that the right way so that the finger doesn't point back at you. And they're not sure what's going to happen. Lockwood is hopeful that things don't go down this very night. So it shows that like Marissa does need some like distance from the whole thing, and that takes some setting up. She can't just do a reprisal right away.
But that means that somebody gets left on watch that night, and we get a great conversation between Lucy and Skull.
Yay.
Yeah. I really like it because I think it's one of the few times, since nobody else is around, they can just talk and not have to... Skull doesn't feel the need to be making fun of everyone, and I don't know. They're just having one of their good talks. It's not all jokes.
Yeah. He's not making fun of like, oh, you're gonna put the nails there. I guess that's a choice. It's not like that. It's very in her heart and talking about deep things.
In fact, Skull says, yeah, it's funny how often one doesn't see things that are right under your nose. So, what shall we talk about? I know, Lockwood. And yeah, they just talk about how, or Skull sort of says that he seems to be in his element and like going out in a blaze of glory was all he ever wanted.
And I think this gets right down to what she's afraid of and the card prophecy thing that she got. She's like worried about Lockwood dying basically in the line of duty because he's trying to go all in. Like, it's easier to die than to live.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, she's watching him like eyes bright, being the leader, blah, blah, blah. And she's worried that the reason he's so excited is because it's like, yeah, we're going to get murdered, everyone. Let's go. Yeah, this is what I've been waiting for.
I don't think either of them are thinking that explicitly, but more that because we're at the end of it here, that he'll go all in and not stop when he could. Right? Yeah,
it's just under the surface fears. She's worried obviously about getting hurt and everything, but I think underneath the surface it's like there's all kinds of anxieties bubbling there. And Skull is doing what he does and like going underneath the surface and bringing it up, and he's also like, hey, speaking of that, I have my own existential needs. It would be great if you would let me out before you are terribly murdered, and I have to just sit here and there's nothing, I'm trapped. There's nothing I could do. He's like, maybe once you're murdered, they could put your skull in here and then we could talk forever. That might be cool. But otherwise, I'm going to be trapped.
Can you imagine?
It would be great.
I don't think it would be great. I guess for us, it would be funny. But for them, no.
It's like the alternate ending where it's just a never-ending argument.
Yeah. And well, Skull might enjoy that. Yeah, and Skull accuses Lucy of not trusting him, which is hilarious after he's threatened to kill George so often.
Right.
Like most of the time when he's asked to be let out, Lucy just kind of says maybe later or something like that, after this, blah, 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 blah. But here she actually says, I don't think I can, basically. Because I don't know what you'll do. And he says, I just want freedom. I don't, why don't you trust me? We've been friends for years now.
She also makes the point that this isn't the only path to freedom for him.
Yeah.
He could just let go of this skull as a source for him and move on to the other side, move on from death to whatever happens next. She says to him, what are you doing here, Skull? What keeps you tied to this dirty old piece of bone? I'll tell you what I think. I think you're afraid of letting go. You're frightened of doing what you ought to do, which is give up this world and finally go into the next. And so I think she gives back to Skull the thing that he's always doing to her, like prying up her deep darkness. This is the thing under the surface for Skull, is an underlying fear of change.
And eventually Skull sort of says, the circumstances for that certainly haven't happened yet. I'll let you know when they do. That being him deciding to move on. And that I find interesting just because, maybe I'm wrong, but when we see the other side later, the moving on part is not easy for ghosts right now. That's why the problem is the problem.
Yeah, in London anyway, yeah.
Yeah, and I do wonder if that's what he's referring to. Where he's like, even if I wanted to right now, it would be difficult.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe. Because I don't think they know that particular information.
But he might.
Yeah. I think he does. I think
Skull is a little omnipotent.
Yeah.
Which works for the book, even if sometimes it doesn't always make sense.
He's been around a long time too. So I think I'm fine as a reader with him.
That's true.
Knowing all the stuff that he does.
I guess
he's been around for
he would have been in London when the problem started.
Right. He would have noticed the changes and stuff, I think.
He was
or at least like kind of heard about it, if that makes any sense.
A pre-problem ghost.
Yeah, yeah. And he was always a type 3. So, he could have moved on, but he didn't. And he was like not trapped in a jar for most of that time. So like tied to the source, but
Yeah. It'd be interesting to know if he killed anyone pre-jar.
Or he definitely, he talks about that. How he was like, it's empty calories, blah, blah, blah.
He talks about a lot of things.
Oh, you doubt what he says. Yeah, maybe. I think he definitely did. He's so eager to kill earlier in the story. But I think, he's changed too. And I think that he's being sincere in what he's saying. Like, I could help defend our home.
Yeah.
If you would let me out. Like, I think that's real.
I think that's real too. But I don't know. Because he died as a teenager, and because when you're a ghost, you kind of get stuck, I could absolutely see a lot of that just being boasting. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like,
did teenage boys do
that? Or like he's repeating like the empty calories and the information that he gives about killing people. That could all just be things that he's heard and seen from other ghosts.
Mm-hmm. I like the idea that he's gone on a journey, though, that like he used to be
a murderer,
more casually murderous. And he was also like, he was mentored by a psychopathic torturing
That's true.
surgeon guy. I can believe that he was a cruel person who, that became a cruel, murderous ghost. But that, his time with Lucy has changed him and that he's grown. Like, I like that idea.
I don't know which I like. And I like that we don't really know. I like that Skull stays kind of mysterious.
I don't even know his name.
Yeah. I like that about him. The one thing about that is that, I don't know, if he was really quite murderous beforehand, I just wouldn't like him as much.
Mm-hmm.
I get that it's kind of a better story. I like him better as an overly boasting more about his abilities or actions than what they actually were.
Yeah. I have that same problem in fiction all the time. Like, this is my whole problem with, like, from Buffy the Vampire Slayer with Spike and stuff.
Yeah.
Just because you like this guy doesn't, like, he hasn't done the work, I feel like, to earn this.
Yep.
So, yeah, I get that. I understand. I think he has changed. I think he would have behaved differently if he was let out in the Whispering Skull.
Oh, 100%.
Versus now. But, like, yeah, has he earned a full-on redemption? I don't know about that. I don't think that I would agree.
Anyways, the next morning, nobody died. Sorry.
Yeah, that's true. Nobody gets murdered. I did want to mention, we kind of skipped over it earlier, that Lockwood kind of sets up a trap on the back stairs.
Yes. Yeah, they home alone the house. Yeah, that was.
But he says the reason that he did it was because I was inspired by our visit to Marissa's tomb. So clearly, like, everything in the early chapters is paid off here.
I see.
Yeah. He puts a tripwire on the stairs, exactly like what was in the tomb, to cause a deadly man trap, I believe is what he calls it.
That is what he calls it, which, what does that even mean? Like,
I don't know.
Like, I understand the individual words, but, like,
yeah,
what did he do?
I was like, is that an Englishism? Is this set up with, like, magnesium flares everywhere? Or is it two paint cans that come together where your head is? I don't know.
But I'm sure Lockwood has heard of traps before without Marissa's tomb.
He's seen Home Alone.
Anyways, Flo shows up in the morning, almost dies by the deadly trap, but since it's Flo, she seems to just know to go to a window.
Right. She's like, I never use that door anyway.
Yeah, she always comes down the chimney, so.
Right. Yeah, but she tells them that word is that Rupert Gale has been in deep discussions with Julius Winkman and that Portland Row is the subject of discussion.
And this is
Remember
like,
Winkman?
yeah, this is a good coming together of things because we did hear earlier in the book that Winkman was out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
And that they were worried about what that was going to mean for them. And now basically this version of London's queen has said, please go kill these people.
It's like the perfect way to wash her hands of the whole thing. He has his own motives.
Yeah.
Because they have their own history. It's really good. They've been, like back and forth with the Winkman family throughout the entire series. So it just feels like perfect.
Comes together very nicely for a spot of child murder.
The best murder.
Hey presto, everyone's happy. Except us, Holly said. We'll be dead. And then Lucy has this bit where she's like, well, that's good, because they're not agents. They won't be trained like us. They won't have swords. And Kipps is like, no, just guns and knives.
Right, yeah.
Hooray.
I feel, that's like that moment from the show, right? Where Lockwood is like ready to fight Gale and Gale pulls out a gun. And she's like, It's serious. Like we know how dangerous Winkman is. He's been a threat through the whole thing. I think this, like, as perfect as it is to be like, oh, it's your old enemy, it also escalates the danger even more. Like, this could have been anybody, but now it's like, oh, it's this guy. Like, this guy's crazy. So it's a really good use of that character.
And he has nothing to lose, really.
Yeah.
And then Lockwood has, I feel like, the epiphany the whole book has been working towards. You could probably say the whole series, actually, because of the way that the house has been set up. But he's like, we've got everything here that we can just make a doorway to the other side also. We can become our enemies, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone is like, you're crazy, but you're right, that's kind of our only option.
This is like a crazy idea. Like, I remember the first time reading this and I was like, my mind was a little blown. I was like, it's another, kind of like the use of Winkman. It's just another, oh yeah, all the pieces are in place and it just kind of locks in a certain way where you're like, holy shit. Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah. And I feel like throughout the whole books, we've talked about not only the stuff from his parents and how his sister died, obviously, and the things on the walls, but also that they've like kept sources in the basement, that they have a stock.
It does feel like really planned from a, outside of the story by Jonathan Stroud kind of way. That's really like satisfying. Like, I didn't really see it coming, but like all the pieces have been there since the first book.
Yeah. Like the best writing, basically. When something comes together and you're like, ooh, of course, but you didn't guess it.
Yeah. That's the best feeling.
But like from inside the story, it probably feels the same way to Lockwood, but from his parents, Like they set it all up for him. And
I think he really has that feeling. He'll talk about that later. Yeah, that it's all been building to this. And that's a good feeling. Like when you can, it's not only like, oh, I had that story feeling, but you're also in sync with the characters. Like that's what they're feeling too. That's pretty hard to pull off. It's really impressive.
And kind of coupled with the setting up for the big final battle. Like that's a fun feeling in a story too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely, these two chapters are really like building and building and building.
Yeah.
It's also, like we've had this structure throughout, and it's part of the reason why I keep breaking down these episodes into 2 chapters. He's like really gotten into a 3-act thing in each of these parts, and it's the same thing of like we've got a haunted house situation. The first couple chapters are always prep for that situation, except like now the house is theirs and they're planning to like haunt their own house, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It's a cool inversion that is happening at the end of the book here that is a lot of fun, I think. I do like this moment here where Lucy says, we gazed at one another. My hands felt cold. A worm of dread coiled tightly in my stomach. By the looks of it, Quill and Holly were experiencing much the same thing. Not Lockwood, though. His eyes glittered. A small smile played at the corners of his mouth. On seeing that smile, the worm in my stomach coiled a whole lot tighter. And this is like right before he lays the plan on him.
Yeah.
But it's just that underlying worry that she has about like his death wish. And really, like, this is weirdly a death wish, because he's like, well, what if we went to the other side, you guys? Like, that's the answer to everything.
Yeah.
And it is like a good plan, but I like the symbolism of that this is the answer to him. And it's I like how it also plays out in ways that he doesn't expect, and that feels like real and satisfying to me as well. Like, there's some part of him that's always been like, well, if I die, then it all works out. And it's like, that's not quite how it goes for him.
And also, like, this is him getting to die and live.
Yeah. Cake and eat it too, which is, I think that's the best thing about fantasy, is you can like cross these lines and then you still get to have it all. That's the best thing about fantasy.
And have the realization that maybe this is not the best choice.
Yeah. I love that.
Well, at the end of that, George walks in.
Right.
And
what does he say?
Is this a private wake, or can anyone join in?
It's good. Yeah. I like that a lot. Yep. But he inserts himself. He doesn't want to be left out. Do you think that they would have left him out? They would have just like, I mean, not that they would have been like, bye, George, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
no.
Well, you're not well enough.
No, so I don't think so. As soon as he heard a commotion and that sort of thing. Like, no, if he was up, they would include him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because if he was still like he was in the previous chapter, to be fair, I mean, George has had a miraculous recovery. In the real world, I do think he would still be in bed.
Mm-hmm. I think but whatever. I mean, it's a story.
Whatever.
He's
they need him to be able to walk through the other side in order to have this story work. So, miraculous recovery. Carry on.
Yeah, it's a great way to insert himself in there. I feel like it's earned. I believe it when I read it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And it's fun.
And that is the end of the chapter, as you said.
Yep. In chapter 18, the team creates a bolt hole escape in Jessica's room.
Why did you choose to word it that way?
No problem.
The chapter art is like a pile of sources, but it just looks like a mess. Like, I don't know. I think it was a weird choice.
You can kind of see the chains around them. I like the contrast of light on the inside and outside of the circle.
Sure.
But yeah, it is a pile of junk.
I don't know what I would have done. Actually, I probably would have done the apple tree, honestly. I know that that's like a completely different vibe, but I think that because you wouldn't have known what it was, you know? Even like an apple tree, what does that have to do with anything?
What does that have to do with it? It's like the emotional core of this part, I think. Yep. I don't think her pictures ever have the characters in them. They're always like objects or places.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if maybe there was like a hand or something sometimes, but I can't think of anything.
A shadowy ghost or a picture of people, but that's like a picture, you know, it's like a object.
Like a photograph.
Has a picture. Yeah.
There's this running joke that started in the previous chapter and goes into this one about some chocolates that Flo brought for George that nobody knows where they came from, what's on them, if they're really edible. But George kind of comes in and starts eating them, and eventually they are offered to other people, and they all just like shake their heads.
No. Yeah.
And at one point, I think Lucy says, I suspect Flo just found them in the river and dried them off on a rock.
This would be like buying an unwrapped box of chocolates at the Goodwill store or something.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Don't do that.
There's definitely cocaine, and that is how George is doing so well.
That's why he's okay. There's a little bit of meth in there, yeah. There's this line that I really like. I think it's interesting. It's just kind of dropped here and moved on, and it's not remarked on at all, but I really like the phrasing of it. I feel like Stroud is so careful in his language. The idea of making a spirit gate in our own house gave everyone pause. And it just our own house to me was like, this isn't Lockwood's house. This is their house, right?
Yeah.
This is something that they've made it together and they're collective. And I just really love that line and how they're all making this choice. It's Lockwood's suggestion, and they are like, yeah, I guess it's the only way, but there's like a little bit of a trauma to it that they all experience.
A part of me, and this is the stupidest reaction to this because it makes no sense, but a part of me is kind of upset that this happens just because I like that the other side was Lucy and Lockwood's thing.
I get that, yeah.
And obviously the dozens of other people in London that have been over there. So that's why I think it's kind of stupid. The old people. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, I agree that it was the right choice for the story. There's a part of me that's like, how dare they invite people into their own little thing?
Yeah, it also feels like there was that moment that you pointed out at the end of the third book, where it's like Lucy and Lockwood going through the sewers to get out of Aikman's,
right,
or Aikmir's, and it said like Lockwood and co emerged into the light when it was just the two of them. There is like a similar kind of feeling to that, right?
Mm-hmm. But oh well.
This is, for right now in the story, they're like, this is the last ditch. Like, if we, hopefully all the other defenses hold, and this is like, if we got to go in here, then that's what we'll do. So it's not like the plan.
And Lockwood even says, and if we have to go through, we'll just stay right here in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a reader, of course, you're like, right, so they're going to have to go through. And that's not, right. They're not going to be able to just stay. That's not going to work.
Yeah. I think his reasoning kind of makes sense. It rests on a false assumption, which is good. When you're story writing, I mean,
yeah.
That Winkman's thugs will be so freaked out by a gate that they're just going to be like, what? They disappeared. Oh my God, there's ghosts. Let's get out of here.
And that they wouldn't
I think
be
that's
able
a pretty
to come
good
through.
assumption.
I think it is too, because they're adults who don't have, can't see the ghosts, right? They'll just know that something weird is going on in that room and that they disappeared. And presumably, Marissa hasn't told them about gates.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows that.
Yeah, well, the Orpheus Society does, but you know what I'm saying.
And Gale.
And Gale,
which is the fatal flaw here.
I have to assume also some people at Fitz know, because she has gates in the building, and there must be people looking after that, right?
You're right, yeah. They talk about that later, too.
Yeah, so there's got to be...
But none of these guys.
But, there's got to be, 50-ish people in London that know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Which is wild.
Yeah. Well, it's I think there's, some conspiracy type ideas going on here, which works for the story.
Oh, no, it makes sense. I just think that, that many people know and no one has spilled the beans,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess maybe if you try, you're offed, but...
Yeah, you know exactly what'll happen to you.
Yeah.
Anyways. But yeah, Lockwood is like, hey, if it's a question of survival, of course we're going to cross over here. So that's kind of the stakes that are presented to us as readers. This is, like I said, a bolt hole. This is, it's a panic room, but it's on the other side.
Yeah. A metaphysical panic room.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was trying to think of.
And George is all for it, of course.
Yeah.
He's just like, yes, I want to see the other side. Let's do this. This is George's A plan, not B plan. When they run in, he's already there.
He is kind of practical about it, though, too. He's like, I have to be good. What are we gonna do?
Yeah,
this is the way it is. I don't know.
And then, so basically, I don't think they all say yes, but it's implied. And then George starts telling them about what he found out in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Occult theories. And most of it is just more confirmation of stuff that we already knew, except that we do find out that, well, I guess it goes a little bit in depth that immortality is what she was always after. And that maybe she hasn't switched bodies. Maybe she's just made this one young.
Right, somehow.
We don't
with the
But
ectoplasm.
I don't think that
something.
turns out to be true. I think she has switched bodies.
Yeah, well, yeah. What's going on is a little bit weirder than her original idea.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of weird, right? This notion that so ectoplasm is somehow like a part of it's like somewhere between physical and spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
It's like both at the same time. That it's a material that all of us carry around with us, and it has some kind of indelible association with your personality, I
Or
guess.
your soul,
Like the,
if you go that
like
route.
the physical bit that we might call your soul, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she has this idea, I think this is really interesting, that you could like take that part that we say that it's your soul, but it is like somehow a material, and just kind of refine out the experiences of the person, the personality part.
Mm-hmm.
Just get rid of that part and still have the leftover kind of purified stuff of it, the plasm of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that this is more possible on the other side than it is over here in the living world, and that you could then use that to rejuvenate your body somehow. So like that's a kind of an important idea, that you could refine out the person from the plasm,
Which is like
that's like her
super
core
evil.
idea. Yeah
It's and she's just writing this in this book, but like that's a step beyond murder, right? That's like ending someone's soul.
Yeah, we don't know what
after they've
happens.
died.
Right. Like we don't know if anything carries over, like there's something else that happens, but it seems like now that's impossible for whatever you just did.
Yeah.
Like you really did something that ends things for whoever that was. It's really terrible.
And she doesn't even address that at all. She's just like, and then I can live forever.
Right. Yeah. And I guess, yeah, when she published this, nobody believed in it. It was like the world is like what it is.
It was pre-problem, right?
Right. And so they're like, Fountain of Youth, you're a kook.
Yeah. Well, she only published
even
3
now,
copies, so 2 people read it.
Right. But it's not like this is going on as far as we can tell. You know, like it's going on for Marissa. But
and maybe
it's
the
not
Orpheus
like,
Society.
Maybe, yeah. None of them seem young in any way.
But they didn't seem particularly frail either.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Especially for going over to the other side as much as they are. We know that has side effects that age you, so... It just seems like it's the opposite, right? Like if you go to the other side, you age. And like her theory is that it's the key to eternal life. So it just seems, I guess what I'm saying is it just seems like Marissa is the only person who has benefited from this idea in this obscure book that no one has read.
And I don't think
it's like the secret.
I don't think we ever get an answer about Gale. If he's always been...
No, not really.
If he has always been the same Gale. Like maybe Marissa's done the body switching, but Gale's done the Fountain of Youth.
Mm-hmm. I've wondered about that too. Like, is he the same guy?
Because we get that, like we talked about, not last week, I think, but the week before. When he confronts them at Fitz's house, and he can still see ghosts, and he says, you know, I'm younger than I look, or whatever.
Right. Yeah. He has like a bad answer to that question.
Yeah. So, I don't know. That's intriguing to me.
Yeah. Who knows? Like maybe he gets the leftovers from her plate of plasm. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. But I like that idea though. That she decided
that it's the same guy.
It makes sense that she was like, well, I have to be in the public eye, so I have to keep being somebody else. Mm-hmm. But you can stay kind of in the shadows. Yeah. You know, like that seems like a good plan.
It also explains why he's a little bit of an eccentric weirdo.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like why he's so flamboyantly, like the way that he is, it makes a little bit more sense.
And maybe like a ghost getting stuck, he's gotten a little bit stuck. That's why he still cares so much about what teenagers think.
Yeah. He's like a eternal Kips before he joins the team.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of guy.
Anyways.
I thought about this too with the whole plasm question and the eternal youth of like back to the what were they doing in the show with the ghost lock ward in the hospital and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if it was like this, like, is there plasm being harvested from the young psychic people?
Interesting.
Like, is Nori like some kind of honeybee to Marissa or something like that, you know, where
I kind of like that because I genuinely just didn't know where they were going with that plot point.
It kind of doesn't make sense for what we get in the book, but maybe they had a different
idea there.
There's a funny moment here where he's like, George is talking about the book and stuff, and he's like, oh, I scribbled a thing down in a passage. It's stuffed down in the back pocket of my pajama bottoms. Can you reach it for me, Lockwood? And he's like, what?
But then we learn about Ezekiel and that Marissa does have a type 3 ghost friend or advisor, the same way that Lucy does. Although, as somebody says, it seems like Ezekiel is a bit more knowledgeable than Skull.
Yeah, Lockwood says this Ezekiel sounds a tad more informative than your tatty old Skull, Luce.
Is Skull in the room? He is. Oh no, that's later. I guess Skull's not in the room.
I think he's in the attic. He just hangs out at the window all the time now. That's boarded up also? I don't know.
Well, there must be, because that's where they've been looking out, so he must be able to see a little bit. I enjoyed the idea that they left a skull-level peephole for him.
He's just like the boards don't join nicely there, and like, there you go. It says, Dear Ezekiel is learned in matters of life and death. He understands buried secrets and the minds of mortals. With his help, we can transcend our baser natures and make ourselves pure. Like this, and that's like a really interesting idea for, she's got to be really young here. She's preteen, I would think, because she's a teenager when she's fighting ghosts, and this is before that. And she's got this idea that like she's impure, that like our physical bodies are impure, but the spiritual bodies are pure, and that purity can then be transferred into the body to live forever. There's just like, it just seems to me like she's already really messed up and lonely and getting bad advice.
To already be worrying about being immortal and not dying and stuff, like some shit must have happened to her.
Yeah.
Like maybe her family is very similar to Lockwood's family, but she went a different direction with it all.
Yeah, because we don't really see anything about that, right?
No, we don't know anything about her parents, siblings, if she had any. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that idea of them having kind of similar childhoods where everybody died. And Lockwood coming to hate death and her Lockwood coming to long for his own death, I suppose, in a way. And her deciding that, not dying is the only way to live. That's a stupid sentence, but you know what I mean.
I don't think so. I think that's really good.
Yeah.
I think those contrasts are there on purpose. And she's like a big contrast to Lucy in a lot of ways, obviously. The more that we find out about young Marissa, it's like really interesting.
Yeah. If we ever did get a 6th book, I hope somebody would find a journal of hers that like laid it all out, because I want to know. Yeah.
This is the point where Lockwood lays out that he talked to Barnes.
Yes. And that there's
he's like,
no hope
I
from
asked
Deepak.
him, and he said no.
Which is insane. Can you imagine a kid comes to you and says, hey, we're probably going to get murdered tonight, and Barnes shrugs.
Yeah. He's so passive, and that's like the way that he has survived. It's like what makes him useful to Fitz, right?
Yeah.
It's a shame.
It's a shame, but also I think terribly realistic, because police do not exist to prevent crimes.
That's true. It also is important, I think, for where Barnes lands at the end of the story, that he knows about this and has to like chew on it and make choices. So
yeah, if things had gone south here and they all had been murdered in their home, what would Barnes have done? Like, how do you live the rest of your life knowing that this kid came to you and said, please help, and you said no, and then they all died. How do you, what do you do?
Well, you can almost imagine the conversation too, where he's like, yeah, I told you this would happen. And what did you do? You didn't listen, did you? So like, I could imagine that too, of him feeling justified as like, I already tried to help you and you wouldn't take it. But I told you to become Hitler Youth and you refused. And like, now you have no choice.
Now the firing squad.
Yeah.
Lockwood does give an opportunity for anybody who wants to leave. I don't, and I get that some of them kind of have other homes and presumably other life. Well, Holly might have a life outside of Lockwood and Co. I don't think Kipps does.
No.
Kipps is just lying to them that he does.
Yeah.
But they all say, of course, we're not leaving. So
even at this point, we don't see any of his little Bobby Vernon or like.
Yeah, no, we don't see any of them.
Yeah, they never come back into the story, so they've just abandoned him. It's sad.
It is sad, and I do wonder if the TV show would have done that.
Yeah, I doubt it. It's like that's not how you do with actors. I mean, maybe they would
but
keep
they also
the relationship
have
the same from the book, but
they also have like a limited time, yet right? You know, 8 episodes, so you got to make cuts.
I could see them like when they go back into Fitz, seeing those guys and then being on.
Oh, that would be cool, and having to fight them. Yeah.
Yeah, they go up into Jessica's room and have to like sort sources, try and figure out what's junk, what's going to be good for this, making a gateway thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, Skull comes back into it.
Yeah, Skull's there to help. Well, Lucy tries to get him to help sort what is a good source and what is not, and what is junk. And he has this whole thing, and they have this joke about a mask that Holly is trying on, which is hilarious. I think that's the only time we've seen any whimsy from Holly.
Yeah.
Right? Like, now, we're about to die. May as well try on a mask.
It's not a mask, though.
Yeah,
that's the joke.
That is the joke. But also, Skull has this whole like thing about how it's worn in rituals, blah, 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 blah. How would Skull know this?
Oh, that's true.
How would Skull have any of this information? This is what
I never questioned that.
This is what made me think about Skull being a little omnipotent. How he just, I guess he's researching the artifacts in Lockwood's house when they leave him there. Who knows how?
If it was like somehow it was able to communicate with him or something. And be like,
the joke that they're implying here is that it's some sort of gourd loincloth, right?
Yeah. Like it's a fertility icon for men to wear, and she's putting it on her face.
Yeah.
And then Lucy does not tell her that, and she's like, "You look great. Keep it on your face," it's funny.
And then of course Skull's great answer is to just why not break them all and see what's inside.
Yeah.
But they talk about setting up the Iron Circle with a lot of heavy duty chains that they got delivered the day before. And then they do Lockwood calls everyone together to be assigned capes and to just have them on just in case, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm. She kind of says before that happens, the way that they take almost everything off the walls and bring it upstairs to sort through it, and how the house has become echoey and empty and stuff. And that was like really affecting to me. Like all the things that made the house what it is. Like it doesn't look like, it says 35 Portland Road no longer looked itself. It made us all feel sad. And like all the things, all these, artifacts that Lockwood's parents left to him, they're doing the job of keeping him alive, but somehow they've become a part of what makes it a home, and it's all changing.
Very end of the story.
This attack. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to what you were saying.
Spirit capes, yes. So they've got 3 from Lockwood's parents and 2, I guess. I can do math. How many people are there? There's 5 of them, right?
Yeah,
6?
that they stole from Orpheus.
Yeah, 2 that they stole from Orpheus. Lucy gets the only one that's been to the other side already, presumably because Lockwood wants her to have the one that he knows works.
Yeah, it's their one bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
From the other side.
I guess that's Jonathan Stroud's considering my personal feelings about not letting other people into this weird bubble, right? Don't put somebody else in their cloak.
Right. Yeah, that's theirs. They were married in that cloak. And then, so then there's one that is all kinds of crazy, colorful feathers, and another one that's a patchwork of various furs. One goes to Quill and the other one goes to Holly, and neither of them seem very happy about it.
And then, of course, George and Lockwood get the sleek silver ones that look cool.
Yeah, they look like Knights of the Round Table or something.
Yeah. I love that he gave George one of those, because I feel like in a different time George would have been a butt of a joke there, but...
No, he's like a sleek, cool... It's like they started the company together. It's like...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're an associate.
Yeah.
This is just how it works.
And then everybody gets some gloves, some silver gloves that they stole from the Orpheus Society. I do like Holly's line, I look like a fur trapper.
And Kipps is like, I look like a stuffed parrot.
Yeah. And then and then Kipps eventually says, if any of my friends see me, and George just says, friends, Kipps. Oh, it's great.
They have to hammer a couple of posts into the floor and pull a chain in between them so that they are able to cross over.
And then this is when they start talking about like opening everything to get the sources out. But it's like Stroud is so great about breaking his own world building. Because the line is like, it was time to put the sources in the circle and create the gate. Lockwood and I did this swiftly and alone. Each object had to be opened. Wax, seals cut, pouches slit, wooden surfaces pierced. Since when do wax and wood hold back ghosts? Like, I think the whole conceit of of this whole story is iron and silver.
Yeah.
Literally in that first, Marissa's tomb, we see a ghost float, whatever, through like 2 feet of cement. What were these wax seals doing exactly?
Was there like iron banding or silver lining? It doesn't seem like it's enough. I thought that too. We'll see later that for a very well guarded source, it's incredibly difficult to get it open. So like even the one that killed Jessica was like, it was pottery, but they said on the inside it had like, it had like iron as part of the, like in the ceramic or something like that.
And I've always pictured it as, maybe this is like, I've always pictured it as having some sort of design that is somehow metaphysical. The iron was put on in a certain way that, I don't know, kept the ghost inside. But like, because even if the whole bottom of something was iron and it was then sealed with just wax, I feel like
it doesn't seem like enough.
Could get out through the wax.
Right.
And then and one of these lines is like opening pouches. What? Please explain. Are the pouch... Anyway, I don't know. Maybe the word silver in front of pouch is implied, but also I don't know about indigenous tribes all over the world creating silver pouches. Maybe I'm wrong,
having chainmail silver.
I think you have to mine for silver, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, sure, we can. It's not that important. It's just a weird piece of writing, considering how important materials are to this story.
He's so good about his world building too, and so it just it definitely was in the back of my mind.
The amount of times that we have adults react to ghosts and skull talk while the sun is shining directly on him. I mean, whatever.
This stuff does build up, though. They definitely feel it. It gets to the point where it's doing the insect buzzing thing. So, like, oh, yeah, I think we got it. Like, we have enough stuff.
Yeah, but it's still daylight out, so they don't see any ghosts because he did stick to that piece of world building. They then have a good breakfast for dinner situation.
Right. Yeah.
I
Kip
just really
makes
loved that,
food.
how Lucy was like, we all just thought we should have a big dinner. And then she says, Lockwood cooked bacon and eggs. It's
Oh
like,
yeah, you're right. Lockwood does
that's the most teenage thing I've ever heard.
that.
I mean, I love breakfast for dinner. Do not get me wrong. But I just love the idea that they're like a big hearty dinner. Yeah, bacon and eggs. And
That is the
sausage.
thing that they do too, right? Like they
Yeah.
go on a case and they come home and have a big whopping breakfast.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
And then after that, Lucy heads outside to get some air.
She has this thing. We never had time to mow the lawn, so the grass was nearly knee high. There were apples on the tree that needed to be picked. And I was like, same girl.
I do hear a lot about your apples. But isn't
Yeah.
that like later in the year? For you, not for her. Apples are end of the summer.
Autumn.
It's April.
Yeah. Oh,
So-
not right now. Yeah, the
okay,
tree
okay.
is blossoming right now.
I feel
But
like
I
every
am
year
perennially. I'm always like, a backyard is a burden, is what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
it's just work.
I just feel like every year I hear about how bad your tree is, and then I hear about one day where you got them all, and then for weeks I hear about pies and preserves, and
It's
you send
true.
us all these delicious looking pictures, and it's like maybe it's a burden, but also I don't want a pie.
I have such guilt about my tree. It had such a bad year last year. I really hope it's okay.
Anyways, we should probably Lockwood comes out.
They go to the apple tree.
They have a very unimportant conversation, and then
What?
Winkman shows up.
Right. Yeah, that's what
the
happened.
end of the chapter.
Yeah, this apple tree is pretty important, right? This is the apple tree where Lockwood saw his parents.
Right, yeah.
Lucy comes out here to get some air. She's just feeling so anxious. There's all those anxieties.
They've
are
literally boarded
brewing.
themselves into their house.
Yeah.
So she was like, I just need to get out.
Yeah.
But yeah, Lockwood comes out, and they kind of have a talk that, like Lockwood says, or Lucy kind of says, I trust your talent and your leadership. It's the way you seem to be enjoying this that I can't quite understand. And Lockwood sort of explains what we've said, that it feels like his parents are helping him, that it feels like their deaths weren't for nothing, that they meant something, and how the idea of revenge has kind of galvanized him and given him a purpose. He doesn't say that, but it's kind of implied.
No, I think that's right.
And how even the death glow from Jessica is going to be one of the things that helps makes the gate that they can escape through. So it all feels like his old family is protecting his new one.
Right. Yeah, that's beautiful. And the way that, even George seems to be coming to a solution about the problem.
Yeah.
It just, he can feel that it's like we're in a series of books, Lucy, and they're coming to a conclusion, like he can feel that climax coming. So
is this where he says something about, he literally says something about Endgame, doesn't he?
I don't know. If it's
I can't remember
part.
where it was. I didn't.
Somebody does say that word.
Yeah, it stuck out in my head, but I didn't, underline it or whatever.
Yeah, I talked about this in the chapter where he took her to the empty grave. How he was like, well, it was just they died in an accident. It doesn't mean anything. And my sister's death was accidental too. And sometimes we just all die one day, Lucy, and one day I'll die and I'll be with my family again. And how the grave said knowledge will set you free.
Yeah.
And now he knows the truth, and it seems like he's a little bit of a different guy, that this isn't all manic death wish energy. It really does feel more focused, like you're saying. It's the revenge is giving him a different purpose. Or, I mean, the revenge is harsh, right? Like, there's a sense of, like, justice and closure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That he has a different purpose now. It's not to rejoin his family. It's to see justice done on their behalf and to get closure on the problem at large so that this whole thing stops happening to people like him. So that's like a different, the knowledge has set him free kind of a thing. Jonathan Stroud has really nicely constructed that whole thing in this story. And I think it's a real thing that the way that we frame the circumstances of our lives has a huge impact on the kind of energy and purpose that we have within our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We can interpret events in many different ways. And that's the thing that we have control of in our lives. So we don't always have control over what happens to us, but the way we think about it is powerful.
Agreed.
A little bit of therapy for Lockwood here.
But like therapy was finding out that his parents were murdered.
Yeah, it's weird therapy, I guess.
Yeah. And then he wants to show Lucy something. He pulls a small square box, very squashed and battered, out of his pocket. And I think this is hilarious because a few years ago when I was a bridesmaid in a wedding, my grandmother pulled an extremely old squashed box out of her, I don't know, whatever, and gave me like just some old necklaces of hers to wear. Because they were all pearls, and the bride wanted us to wear a pearl necklace. I don't think that they were real pearl. I don't know. Some of them might have been, but they were all extremely old, and I can just see this squashed box where the hinges don't quite line up anymore, and everything's just a little off. And it's like, when did you get this box? The necklaces inside are younger than the box.
There's recycling, and then there's what you've done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is too far. Just let go of this box.
So that is the box that I'm picturing. I think I still have it, so I'm no better.
There you go. She says, he hands over the box, and she sees that there's a necklace inside, and she says this very funny line to me. "What is it, Lockwood? I don't think I've ever seen anything so beautiful." And I was like, except for that time you were rifling through his stuff and saw this exact necklace, Lucy. But it's a sapphire necklace that his father got for his mother.
And it just says from the East.
The East. Like Kent, probably.
Maybe France?
Yeah.
What is...
Yeah, but she's like, is this the necklace your mother died in? And he's like, no. It was too special for that. But yeah, it's just a beautiful sapphire necklace. And he's like, so what I wanted to ask you, and then they get interrupted by Kip's.
Yeah, so basically he hands the necklace to her to look at, and then says, I don't think she wore it in the ordinary way. It was too special to her. My dad gave it to her soon after they met. It was a symbol of his undying devotion. And then Lucy hands it back to him. And it's like, thanks for the show and tell. And then he's like, right. But I was gonna ask you.
As he's like, you can see it in my mind, he's like moving the necklace back towards her. As
he's still like holding it out in front of her, like,
right. Yeah. So about undying devotion.
Yeah.
I really like that they get interrupted. I know that this is like a common romantic trope, but something about this, especially like the way that the tension is so high and we're about to be attacked and everything, it feels life affirming to me. Like they're in a house that's bustling with family. It's busy and messy. This isn't just drama to like draw out the romance that's underneath the surface here. It's because like things are really happening and life happens, no matter you're trying to make a grand romantic gesture, like things keep happening anyway. So I don't know. This
life
is sweet.
and
really like
death, because that's what the problem is. People have come to kill them. The Winkmans have arrived.
Yep.
Kips interrupts and says that. Do you think Lucy knew what Lockwood was trying to do, and that's why she was so like, here, have it back? Or,
this is too much.
Or do you think she didn't know at all and she was just like, cool, and was like, here you go?
Oh, like she's oblivious. I don't think.
Because she's always made such a big deal about wanting Lockwood to share more of his past and his family and his feelings with her. Maybe that's just what she thought was happening. She was like, great, this was so nice.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
I think she was like overwhelmed, right? That's why she comes outside in the first place. And then he's like, this is the perfect time for me to do my romantic gesture that I've been thinking about ever since I found this in the room.
Right.
And it's not the right time for that. I think it's like really overwhelming for her. She's like, and she did see this necklace before.
When did that happen? I have no memory of this.
Oh yeah. We talked about it even because you were like, is this the necklace? And I was like, it absolutely is.
What book?
So she breaks in book 3 to Jessica's room. She gets fed up.
Right.
And Holly, like, quote unquote, sees her do it,
yes,
which we find out at the end of the book.
Yes. When you said rifling through his stuff, I was picturing her like rifling through his desk or his bedroom or something. No, he finds it in Jessica's room. Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, I got there.
And then it's like she's just looking through the stuff and finds all those pictures, which is the real thing that is like the thing that she wants. But first, I think she finds this necklace and is like, whoa, crazy necklace.
I do.
Puts it away.
Personally like this better as her being oblivious. I think it's funnier.
I think it does so this is like a conscious unconscious thing. I think maybe, unconsciously she knows exactly what is happening and she just can't face it. And she's like, yeah, amazing.
I can see that too,
way.
but I just love the idea that she's just so happy with what she thinks is happening. That she's like, oh, he just voluntarily shared something with me. That's so nice.
That's all I wanted.
That's all I wanted. And she was happy with that. And Lockwood is just there like, but... I think that's just hilarious. Also, completely unrelated, I just saw next week's chapter art. What the heck is happening there?
Yeah.
Just knives on sticks.
Is this a close-up of the glove thing that those people wear?
I don't know what's happening there. Anyways, unimportant. Talk about it next week.
But yeah, I think he's trying to escalate the relationship, but it falls flat, which is always kind of endearing. I don't know.
It is endearing. Do you think Lockwood went out there hoping to like have a kiss before we die?
Maybe.
I
don't think that he thinks they're gonna die.
No, I know. Like, the big battle's coming. Makes people think, well, just in case.
Yeah, I think what he wants is to like everything's like coming together for him, and I think this is one more bit of that puzzle for him. Is like, Lucy's the one for me. Dear old dad did this for mom, and I think it'll work for me too. Like, if there's one thing I learned from my dad, it's how to give gifts to a woman. How
to specifically give necklaces. It is the only thing he gives Lucy.
Right.
3 different times.
So, yeah, I think that was the move. There was, he sees that like, oh, this is all coming together, and this is another part of that coming together, but it doesn't happen the way that he planned it.
Right.
I like that it's under the apple tree where he was orphaned. Like, he chose to come out here. Like, he could have shied away from that. I mean, he wasn't orphaned by the tree or anything, but like, this is where he discovered that truth. This is the future. Lucy is the alternative to being in that empty grave.
Right.
He can build a life with her. This is the beginning of that. And it kind of happens in the same place where his childhood ended.
Yeah.
And where this ghost hunting life began. And so I really like the way that, like, this is really significant for him, and it does fly over Lucy's head in that way.
Oh, Lucy.
And I like that it is kind of like, the word that comes into my mind is like castrated. Okay. Which seems extreme, but is like the right psychological word. You, like, it's like a guy goes down on a bended knee, but the girlfriend is like looking over her shoulder at something else, and he's like trying to be like, honey, just look down at me. And she's like, not right now. Like, what? I'm looking at this thing over here. Like, I just like how that is not working out for him. That feels real and alive.
I just love the image of her handing it back to him and him being like,
but yeah.
This is not how that was supposed to go. You were supposed to keep it.
Yeah, that's good.
Best joke?
I mean, the one that I laughed out loud for is the gourd joke with
The
Holly.
gourd joke. I liked the chocolates. How they were just like, no.
I think Lucy says, I imagine that they were individually laid out to dry from the river.
Yep.
And then put back into the box. What a horrifying idea. That's pretty good.
Yeah. But also, I do like how, like, this isn't a joke in the book, but I do think that last scene with Lucy handing the necklace back, I get that that's not a joke, but just picturing it in my head is hilarious for me.
It's super cute. Yeah. It's very funny.
Punk rock, I guess, just home aloneing the house.
Yeah. I mean, Lockwood's willingness to turn his entire, like, all of this stuff has been so sacred to him for the whole series, and just be like, let's instrumentalize this stuff to protect my family now. I don't know if that's punk rock, but like, it's such a strong evolution. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, really good turning point from somebody who was literally like, do not go in this room, do not touch anything, do not change, do not upset my traumatic memories at all, to being like, fuck it all. You know, it's more important that we all live.
Throw it in a pile.
Yeah. Break it all open. Let's do it.
George getting out of bed and being like, can I be a part of this?
Yeah, being right back in it. Good. That's good too. Yeah.
We're all set up. It would be like, we're at the top of the roller coaster hill. No, we're already going downhill. It's all down, down, down. Next week is knives, right?
Yeah,
we'll
I don't know
what those knives are.
I have no memory of that chapter. Well, like, I remember what happens vaguely, you know what I mean? But I don't remember the details. So I'm like, who has knives on sticks? And why? That'll be fun to answer next week. All right, well, if you want to spoil for us what the knives on sticks are, you can reach out on Twitter at Lockwood Podcast. Or you can reach out to me personally on Blue Sky at Inferior Caitlin.
You can send emails to us, contact@hollowedgroundmedia.com, or go to the website hollowedgroundmedia.com and scroll down to the bottom to fill out the contact form.
And remember to immediately hand back any expensive looking gifts given to you by the person you've been in love with for years.